Hey everyone, Trace here. So it's fall, and as crafters we really love this time of year, fall and winter and Christmas, because there are so many really fun crafts to do for the fall. So I've seen these leaf wreaths, really difficult to say, but I've seen them all around and they're so beautiful, so I really am excited to give it a try. I will be using a Dollar Tree wreath form, and it's just a foam one, and a really large punch. This is an EK Tools leaf punch, and it's a really large, and a bone folder, and a white gel pen, and some really pretty fall color paper. And this is, the pack is called Spice Market, and this is Recollections. So I'm going to use those and a hot glue gun, and that is just about it. So I'm excited. Let's get started. So you'll want to punch out a lot of leaves, and I can't really tell you how many you'll need. I'm not exactly sure, but I know it's going to be a lot. So all I'm going to do is punch out some of these leaves and just go around the whole page, punching leaves. And once you get to around the edge here, all you have to do to get to that center is just cut some of those off, like so. Then you can get to the rest of the paper. There's another 2 or so in there that you can grab before you actually put it to your scrap pile. So go ahead and punch a lot of these out, and you can also use any pattern paper that you have too. That would be beautiful. I'm just go ahead and using what I have, which is just a solid color paper. So I'm going to punch a bunch of those out and be right back. And we have a lot of scraps left over that kind of look like this. And as crafters, you know that this still has some life in it. And I can see a really neat card kind of forming here. So this is the negative part. All you need to do is cut 1 or 2 of these leaves. 2 would be really pretty. So just cut here and here and put a pattern paper right behind it, kind of like that, and cut a little bit more off here, or add some mats to it, and then that can be an additional card just from the scraps before you actually throw them away. And also there's a lot of extra space here on these pages that you can cut either really tiny leaves or a little bit bigger leaves, still with this paper here. So still have a lot to do with this before it goes in the trash finally. So then I've got my leaves cut out. What I also want to do before I get gluing is I want to cut some strips. So I have some strips. I have a kind of various sizes. I just didn't know which one. Approximately about an inch and a quarter. 1.5 inches was probably a little too wide. So, and what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to cover the wreath form with the paper. It'll just be a whole lot easier and prettier if you happen to see any of the form showing through. So go ahead and cut a bunch of those strips up, and then we're also going to, I'm going to decorate these leaves a little bit just to give them a little bit more realistic look, since they're just a plain color. So what I'm doing with my gel pen is I'm adding a couple of dots and a little bit of veins to it just to make it look really nice. So it's very simple. All I'm doing is just dotting 3 little dots, 1 at the very peak or the very tip of the edges here, and then 2 on the edges. So it just takes a couple more minutes, but it really gives it a nice little effect here. And 1 more. And then all I did was make a straight line and a couple of extra lines coming out just to give it some veins. So that just makes it a little bit prettier. So I went ahead and did that with all of my leaves. It just takes a little bit of time, but you really like the way that it looks. So next I am going to start to take one of these strips and glue it into place here and just rotate it around and separating it just a tad, as like that. So that's what I'm going to do and cover the entire form, and I will be right back. So I am about halfway done with covering up my form here, and I just have a couple of tips real quick. As you're rolling it, it will start to kind of buckle just a bit. You can kind of see that. So what I'm doing is just kind of pinching, see if you can see that, and giving it a little pleat just so it lays flatter. Hopefully you can see that, and that will glue down nicely my little pleat. See if you can see it from here. Yeah, you can see a little bit better that I folded it over and made a little pleat just to keep it rounding as it goes. And also another tip too is use your tools to save on your hands, as in burns with the hot glue. So all I did was put down some glue here and put my paper down. Then use your bone folder definitely to flatten that out, let that cool, instead of using your hands. I've definitely learned that the hard way. So that's just a couple of tips, and then just continue to rotate around and around till you're finished. So another small effect that I did before I started gluing is I took my bone folder and I rounded just slightly the edges of each leaf, and it really gave it a little more realistic look to it. And I like how it's turned backwards or inwards. So this is the way that I will be putting it on my wreath form, so all of the leaves will face inward, just like that. So I'm going to get started and gluing them down. As you can see, I have a lot of leaves on my desk. So I'm going to start probably here just because it's a little bit manageable at this point. So I'm going to just put a dab of glue here, and I am figuring about 3 different colors across. And because I don't want any towards the back, because it'll have to be a flat surface back there. So approximately 3 across is what I'm going to be doing, and approximately like that, and then just keep going in the same direction so the leaves all face the same way. And I'll stop at about halfway and show you how it looks. So I'm about halfway, and I am loving how this is turning out, and how fun it is to actually put it together. And I think that after this row, I'm going to maybe do an additional row here and there on the top, just to kind of keep it going in the right direction. And I'm also thinking I may do some towards the back, just sticking out kind of here and there, and also towards the middle. As you can see, it will be really pretty towards the center too. So I'm just going to continue on, and I will show you what I come up with. I finished all of my leaves that I glued onto the form here, and I used approximately 80 leaves, which is a lot of leaves, but I really wanted to make it a little whimsical and full. And I also put some on the back just to kind of stick out just a little, and I also added some towards the front, sticking inward. So I stamped the sign that I want in the middle of the wreath, and I used 2 stamp sets. This first one is Letterboard Love, and it's the lowercase letters. And the other one is called Alpha Bold, and that's the uppercase letters. And I did stamp that with some color box chalk ink, and it's a little too dull for me, so I'm going to go ahead and go over it with some white Jelly Roll pen. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount it onto this chipboard, and that's also measured at 3 by 6 inches. And I'm going to use some art glitter glue just to mount that on there. So I will do all of that and be right back. So I finished this wreath up with my plaque here in the middle, and I could have done a little bit better job with spacing, but that's okay. Nobody's perfect. And I have the hanger here, and it's all set, ready to go. I'll have some other pictures of it on the doorway. And thank you so much for watching. This was really fun. I hope you give it a try. And until next time, see you later. Bye-bye.